Today's lesson is going to cover both learning target 2 and 3 from our circle relationship unit. And the first thing we're going to talk about are central angles, inscribed angles, and then we're going to talk about tangent and secants. Learning target 2 is about central angles and inscribed angles, and learning target 3 is about tangent and secants. So let's get started with a new vocab word. The vocab word is chords. It's a line segment that is inside the circle and touches the two edges at two different endpoints. So this line segment, AB, is a chord. Since chords are line segments, when we name a chord, we use the line segment symbol above our two endpoint letters, A and B. Notice that the symbol above A and B is a line with no arrows on it. This is how we name a line segment. How is a chord different from a diameter? Well, a diameter specifically goes through the center of the circle, whereas a chord is similar since it touches the two edges of the circle, but it does not go through the center. We don't really call the diameter a chord because it's more special than that. What is an inscribed angle? An inscribed angle is an angle you get when you have two chords that intersect at the same point. In this situation, we have the chords AC and BC, and they both intersect at C. This forms an angle that is touching the edge of the circle at C. The inscribed angle for this circle is angle ACB. The word inscribed literally means that the angle touches the circle at some spot. It happens to be C. All inscribed angles are formed by a minor arc. The minor arc in this problem is arc AB. Later on in the future lesson, we will be talking about a relationship between the minor arc and the inscribed angle, but for now you just need to be able to identify the two. Here's a couple examples so we can explore inscribed angles. Again, let's look at our problem for an inscribed angle and a minor arc, but let's also review major arc. So my minor arc would be the shortest distance from E to F, which is used to form my angle EGF. The major arc would be the rest of the circle going from F all the way around to E. So the inscribed angle in this picture is the angle EGF. The minor arc is arc EF. Notice how they both use the same beginning and ends. It's just that the angle uses a G in the middle. And our major arc would be EGF. And that name is extremely similar to the inscribed angle. So similar that it uses the same exact three letters. In this next example, we have an inscribed angle of JKH, which has a minor arc of JH, but there is also an inscribed angle of JLH. These two inscribed angles are using the same arc to be formed. Angle JKH and also angle JLH are inscribed angles for the minor arc JH. The two major arcs that could be named for this problem are arcs JKH and JLH, depending upon which inscribed angle we're talking about. We've also recently talked about central angles. Let's explore the differences between a central angle and an inscribed angle. A central angle is an angle that's formed by taking 2 points on the circle and connecting them to the center of the circle. This is what we call an inscribed angle. It does include an arc as well. Inscribed angles do not connect to the center of the circle. Inscribed angles connect to the edge of the circle. But they do include an angle. So central angles connect to the center. Inscribed angles connect inside of the circle but do not connect to the center. Real quickly, let's run through a few examples, deciding whether we're looking at a central angle or an inscribed angle. In number 1, I see that FHG comes to the center of the circle, so this is central angle. In the second example, DFE touches the edge of the circle, so this one is inscribed. In the third example, RTS, T touches the circle, so this is also inscribed. And in the last example, M and O, N is in the center of the circle, so this is a central angle. Let's move on to learning target 3. Learning target 3 is about 2 new kind of lines that interact with the circle in different ways. The first vocab term is tangent. A tangent is perpendicular to the radius at the point of tangency and passes through one point on the circle. Key things to know here is this. It goes through only one point on the circle. It cannot touch the circle more than once. A secant is a line that passes through 2 points on the circle. So looking at the example below, we see that the line DE is touching the circle at only one spot. That makes this line a tangent. And since it is a line and it continues forever in both directions, because these arrows, we're going to name it by using those symbols, arrows in both directions. So my tangent is line DE, not line segment. It doesn't end, it goes on forever. Also, D, since it is the spot where the line interacts with our circle, this is called the point of tangency, or the tangent point. AB is a line that does touch the circle at 2 spots. This makes it a secant. This secant has also arrows that go and point forever in both directions. This secant is a line, not a line segment. If it was a line segment, meaning it had a beginning and end at A and B, it would no longer be called a secant. It would be called a chord. So make sure you are naming your secants with the correct symbol. Secants are lines, not line segments, so make sure you name them with the arrows on top. Here are a couple of examples that help us look and see and name tangents and secants in a variety of different ways. The first thing I notice is I have a line that begins at B and goes through D and touches the circle only at D. This is my tangent. So my tangent is a line because I see that there's arrows going in both directions. So let's name it as a line DB. Make sure you're naming it with the arrows on top. I then see there's a segment called a secant. The secant does touch the circle at A, passes through again to a point that I do not know, but does touch my point B. Even though B is not the point on the circle, I do know that AB is a line that does go through the circle and hits it twice. So I'm going to go ahead and name it line AB. The second letter in a secant isn't going to necessarily be the point on the second point on the circle. It might be a point that is outside of the circle. You just need to make sure it's a line that does touch the circle twice. In my next example, I see that there is a line here that touches it at F. We will need one more point to name this line. Let's call it K. So my tangent touches at F, and travels through K. Again, I look to see what kind of picture is it. It has arrows, so this is a line. K, F. Will a tangent always be a line? Not necessarily, but make sure you look at the picture to know specifically what it is and how to name it. My secant touches at E and then touches at H. So this secant is going to be called line secant. This secant is going to be called secant EH. That pretty much covers it for how to name, identify, and what the new vocabulary is. I do want to review our scale. Do know in the last lesson, we covered Learning Target 1, which was about major and minor arcs. Today, we talked about Learning Target 2, which covered central and inscribed angles. And we also talked about today Learning Target 3, which is about tangents and secants. You now have finished what you need to know about our level 2 material, the foundations of circle relationships. There will be a quiz the next time you guys come to class that will be out of 2. So please be prepared for that. If you have any questions, make sure you call me over after you're done watching.